Good afternoon. It is Monday, and it's really a Monday for me. I hope that you're all having a good start to your week. This is a new time of day for me to be doing a live, and I'm still working on being comfortable in front of the camera, so bear with me. So today we're going to talk about healthy boundaries, and I promise to keep this a little bit shorter because I'm actually on my lunch break, so my time is limited today, but this is something that I've been struggling with and actually struggled with quite a bit in the past, and I'm learning really quickly how to have healthy boundaries, how to maintain them, how to set them, what is a healthy boundary. And so I just wanted to be able to share what I've learned and things that I've put into practice that are working really well for me. So if anybody pops on, feel free to say hi, ask questions. I'm here for about 20 minutes or so. All right, so healthy boundaries. A lot of us end up saying yes to a lot of things that we really want to say no to. We consider ourselves to be people pleasers. We think that this is how we get people to like us, and our mission is to make people happy, right? Especially as women and moms. So this could be anything from like answering the phone when that chatty person calls and you know that you're in for at least an hour on the phone and you really don't have 74 minutes to hear about their cat's visit to the vet. Or it could be agreeing to have dinner with a couple who fight all the entire night, and you find yourself leaving drained and just wondering why you wasted your night. It could even be something like taking on extra hours at work that you know you're not really wanting to do, and then you'll have to sacrifice other things, and you're going to end up resenting every moment of that overtime, even if you like the paycheck a little bit. So why do we say yes when we really mean no? We share too much too soon, or the opposite of that, we close ourselves off completely and we don't share enough, and I'm definitely guilty of that. We don't share our needs, our wants, and we expect people to be mind readers, and we tend to get upset when our needs and wants aren't being met, right? All right, so this actually starts from the time we're born. If you think of how a baby works, how they communicate, they cry when they're tired, they cry when they're hungry, when they're frustrated, when they're bored, when they need their diaper changed. So as they start to learn communication skills, they start to make noises, they start to use facial expressions, they'll point, they'll grab things. So they only know what they need and they want. That's what a baby knows. They don't know how to communicate that. And as they grow and they start learning these things, they do whatever it takes to get their needs and their wants met. Right. So then somewhere around the age of 3 or so, we actually start to learn that our feelings, our needs and our wants are combined with shame. And so maybe that's somebody saying something as simple as, be a big girl, big girls don't cry. That would be like confrontation and guilt, right? You know, you're a big girl, don't cry. And then if you do cry, you feel guilty because you don't want to upset that person. We start to understand that when we're tired or hungry or frustrated, overstimulated, that's a big issue with kids. We act out because we haven't learned the proper communication skills. We get banned to that timeout stool or some other form of embarrassment, segregation, and that's in our still developing minds, and we're not quite understanding why we've been separated. And so that turns into shame. And shame is really, it comes from a fear of all these things that even at that very young age, we learn to stop expressing our own needs and wants, and we start pleasing others. So when mommy says, be a big girl, don't cry, we try, even at that young age, to not cry and to stuff that down. And somewhere along the line, we have to stop feeling responsible for other people's emotions, and we have to take care of our own needs and wants. So as we start feeling responsible for other people's happiness, we do tend to stop ignoring, or we start ignoring our own needs and wants. We stop using that word no, because we don't want people to reject us or abandon us. So sacrificing our own needs and wants doesn't serve us at all. It shows people that we have a weak sense of our own identity, that we don't know ourselves well enough to know what we need and we want, and we don't have the confidence or the self-esteem to be able to express that, right? Okay, so actually setting limits and healthy boundaries for ourselves is one of the healthiest, awesome things you can do as self-care. It really is the ultimate form of self-care, and here's why. So we get to communicate our needs. We get to set limits in our relationships, whether they're romantic or work or friendship or even family. Sometimes you got to set those boundaries for family, but we get to set those in a way that's healthy. We get to make space and time for positive interactions, things that fill us with joy and energy and positivity, and we get to protect our personal space. And then we get to empower ourselves to make other healthy choices in our lives, in other areas of our lives. So if we can set healthy boundaries, like this is my time at the end of the night to decompress and wash my face and do whatever I need to do for self-care before bed, then we get to ensure that we get healthy sleep, whatever that boundary is. My puppy's here. He wants to be on video too. Say hi, Kino. Hi, buddy. Anyway, so 5 tips for creating healthy boundaries. And there are a ton more tips, but I wanted to really narrow it down and get those top 5 that work really, really well for me. Know thyself. So this means learning who you are, learning what your core values are, what your true beliefs are, who your authentic self is, and asking, does this serve me? Does this meet my values? Will this add positivity and light? Will it lift me up and give me energy? Or is this something that's going to go against what I believe in? Does it bring me down? Does it drain me? Does it take all my energy and I leave feeling worse than when I started? So that's tip number 1, making sure that whatever's being asked of us meets our values and our goals and who we are. All right, so number 2 is trust thyself. So number 1 was know thyself. Number 2 is trusting yourself. And this one can tend to be a little bit harder to do. I think that I speak mostly to women, but guys, this applies to you too. We all have intuition. We have gut feelings. When something about a situation feels off or feels wrong and your body starts reacting in that fight or flight mode, you start sweating, your face is flushed, you're not quite sure that this is a safe place for you, whether that's emotional or physical, then this is wrong for you. You have to say no. Do not put yourself in a situation where you don't feel safe and protected, and that's emotional, that's physical, that's whatever safe means to you in that moment. So trusting yourself, trusting your gut, trusting your intuition, they're there for a reason, and if you can really hone in on those things, it's going to be much easier to set those healthy boundaries. All right, so number 3, waffling equals shrinking. Say what you mean and mean what you say. So this is something that I struggled with for a really long time. Especially with, when you have younger kids, you make those idle threats, I'm going to take the door off the hinges if you don't blah, 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 blah. Well, if you know that you're not actually going to follow through on that, don't say it. It's an idle threat. It doesn't mean anything, and you're not setting those boundaries with your kids. So when you make statements about the boundaries that you wish you had in place, like you really just want your kids to get their shoes on, without actually following through on them, you shrink yourself. You make yourself look weak. You make yourself look like you're a doormat, basically, is what it comes down to. And I was a doormat for a very, very long time. So here's another example that doesn't involve kids. So your friend is always borrowing your clothes, right? Maybe it's your friend or your sister or whoever. It doesn't matter. They never bring them back, though. Each time you buy this new sweatshirt or whatever it is, you never see it again, right? So you spend more time than you care to admit stewing about it, and oh my gosh, Karen never brings back that sweatshirt, blah, 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 blah. So you have to decide that you're going to say something, or you can make the choice to keep doing it and getting the same result, right? So you say, hey Karen, I love that I have a friend that I can share all my clothes with. How cool is that we're the same size? But I'm running out of clothes and I really need you to start bringing those back. So you say that to Karen, and 2 weeks later she still hasn't returned anything. And then you go and buy a new sweatshirt and she asks to borrow it. Here's where you have your two options. You can either let Karen borrow it, know that you'll probably never see it again, kiss it goodbye, and just realize that you just bought Karen a new sweatshirt. Or you can say, sure, but remember, I'm going to need those other clothes back first. And then that way, you keep it positive. You're saying sure, but you're sticking to that boundary. You're saying, I need you to do this first, and then, yeah, I don't mind if you borrow my sweatshirt. And hopefully, that will set in motion that new pattern where, yep, you get to share clothes with your friend or your sister or whoever, but you also get those things back, and then everybody's happy. She gets to borrow your clothes, you get your stuff back, everybody wins. All right, so tip number 4 is if it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no. So if after having a serious discussion with yourself, it still feels like the answer is a hell yes, then go for it. If it feels like that answer is a hell no, then don't do it. If you're not absolutely sure that this is the right decision for you, then it's not the right decision for you. And that doesn't mean that it won't be the right decision at a later time. It just means that right now, it's not for you, and you get to say no. That is your right. That is you setting a healthy boundary. So, this one is so important because every decision that you make has to feel good for you, or you're just going to keep building that resentment, and then you don't go anywhere. You're not setting those healthy boundaries, and you're just sitting in that place where you stew and you mope and you're in your pity party, and we don't want to be there. And I'm guessing that you're watching this because you don't want to be there either. All right. So then, if you'll think back to my first live video when I used that serenity prayer, that is our 5th tip. And I'm bringing it back because it applies so much. You can only control what you can control. So going back to Karen, who likes to borrow all your clothes, if Karen decides that it's more important that she keeps all those clothes and never talks to you again, you're the bad guy for setting that boundary, whatever her reaction is. That's Karen's choice. That's not anything that you can control. You set that boundary and you said, Karen, look, this is what I need you to do in order to continue this shared wardrobe relationship that we have. Oh, hi, Kelly. Kelly says, I like the hell yes, hell no. Reminds me of my mom saying, when in doubt, throw it out. Ooh, I love that. That's a good one. Okay, so when you get to be the bad guy for setting your boundary, that's really okay. Again, that's their choice, that's their reaction, and you can't control that. You can only control what you can control, and that's you, right? All right. So that's 5 tips for setting healthy boundaries. Now I have a bonus tip. Yay, I like bonus. All right, so these are a couple do's and don'ts. Do. When you're setting a healthy boundary, you need to be clear, you need to be calm, you need to be firm, and you need to be respectful. So when setting a healthy boundary, you are going to say, look, this is what I need. Use I language. I need this in order for this relationship to do X, Y, Z. We're not setting ultimatums. We are going to back our boundaries up with actions and not words. We're going to say, look, Karen, I need you to bring my clothes back, and then yes, you may borrow that sweatshirt. And that's it. You were firm, you were clear, you were precise, you were respectful, and you were calm. Awesome. So don'ts. do not, do not justify your boundary, do not get angry, and absolutely 1000% do not apologize for that boundary, because the second that you apologize, you are shrinking yourself. You are stuffing down those emotions, you are stuffing down your needs and your wants, and you look weak. You seem weak. And that just means that you need to come back and decide what your core values are and what's important to you and how to set those boundaries. And then you start over. So it's not the end of the world. It just means that you need more practice. That's it. And we all need practice, right? So I want you to keep in mind that it is normal to feel shame. It's normal to feel embarrassed, selfish, guilty, even have anxiety when you first start saying the word no instead of yes. I want you to remind yourself that you absolutely have every right to your self-care and that it does take practice and determination. Your confidence to be your own advocate will grow the more you say no and mean no and stick with no, the more your confidence will grow. I heard this quote somewhere and I wish I could track it down and I wish I knew who said it. But I had it on a post-it note on my computer for the longest time. And it said, how good is your yes when you can't say no? And that really, really stuck with me. And that was really my moment where I was like, okay, I have to learn how to say no, because my yes is no good if people just expect me to say yes all the time. It doesn't mean anything. So let's break it down to like a 3-year-old level. 3-year-old asks for a cookie. I say no, I say no, I say no. And then one day I say yes. And that 3-year-old gets to have their cookie, and that yes is awesome because it's not a yes every single time, right? So, practice saying no, know thyself, trust yourself, and practice setting those healthy boundaries. And as always, if you need help with a particular situation, you're just not quite sure how to do it, you need a cheerleader, you need some motivation, let me know. That's what I'm here for. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your Monday, and we'll talk to you soon.